Yay, you made it. We are finally at the last explanation video for your weekly diagram assignments. This is week 13. We're dealing with sentence transformations, anticipatory appositives, sentence appositives, and nominative absolutes. Don't let the complex terminology frighten you. Just remember that you know how to do all these things. We're just putting different elements together. So remember, with appositives, it's a noun or a noun phrase clause that is redefining a noun that precedes it. In all cases, for our anticipatory appositive, the noun is it. So we're going to start, as we normally do, with our main clause, and that is it is helpful. So it is our subject, it is a be verb, and helpful is an adjective. We can stop right there and know that the main diagram here is a pattern 2. So we leave some space for this appositive. Remember, appositives go on this little pedestal structure. It goes in parentheses on that main line. Now we have a verbal here. We have to understand, which is an infinitive. So that goes on the slanted line. The to, our verb goes on the main line. Understand what, context is our direct object. And then we have some modifiers. We have an article, an adjective, which are both modifying context. And then we have a prepositional phrase, which is modifying context as well. So all of those go below context, which is what they're modifying. And then remember that verbals have a sentence pattern 2. The subject is not directly related, but it's kind of connected in the other part of the sentence. So we have subject, transitive verb, direct object, makes it a pattern 7 for that structure on top. Same things with the next one. It is our subject, is our be verb, and surprising is our adjective. Not negates the verb, so it goes underneath that. We have another pattern 2 sentence. Now we move on to our positive. The appositive is structured a little bit differently. We have companies as our noun, perform as our verb. Perform what? They perform a play, which is the direct object. So subject, transitive verb, direct object. Then we put in our modifiers. Theater is modifying companies. Often is telling us answering when. That's an adverb question, so it goes below the verb, and this is modifying play. And then that, remember, if it's just a connective, if it's just the connective tissue in the sentence, it doesn't serve a grammatical function. It goes above the verb. So we can look and say subject, transitive verb, direct object makes that a pattern 7. Same pattern 2, subject, be verb, adjective. And then watching the verbal fireworks. Watching is that ing form. So that's functioning as a gerund, which goes diagonal in that step structure. So they're watching what? They're watching fireworks. And then all of these others are modifiers. The direct, the definite article, the adjective, and the prepositional phrase. Then we do need to identify a sentence pattern for this. The subject is implied down here. So we have subject, action verb, direct object is a pattern 7. Okay, now we're moving on to sentence appositives. So we have this clause that is not just redefining a noun, but it's redefining the whole first phrase. Normally they're diagrammed next to each other, but I just didn't have room on that for that on the slide. So imagine that these are next to each other. They're completely separate diagrams. So you diagram the main clause and then do the appositive next to. So we start with Katrina is openly rebellious. Katrina is our subject. We have a be verb and an adjective. So that's a pattern 2, and then we have our adverb down below. Then we do our separate entity, and we have fact, which kind of stands alone. So then we look at what's going on. We have that, which is functioning as the subject for the verb frightens. Frightens whom or what? It frightens suitors. And then the prospective goes below. So the subject, Action, verb, direct object, we have a pattern 7. And then my last step is always connecting. And so fact is a noun and it connects to that, which is what's replacing it. Okay, Taming of the Shrew is a title. We're going to treat that as one unit. That's our subject, the noun. Explores is our verb. Explores what? It explores reality. So we have subject, transitive verb, and direct object. And then we have the definite article and the preposition, a couple of prepositional phrases. What reality are we talking about? We're talking the reality that's behind conventions of Renaissance marriage. So those are both modifying reality. So when we stop and look at this first clause, we have subject, transitive verb, direct object, which is a pattern 7. Now we get to the sentence appositive, and it is a topic unexplored by most of Shakespeare's contemporaries. We know that topic is a noun. Unexplored is the past participle of the verb, but it's not functioning as the verb. It's functioning as an adjective modifying topic. So if you remember back to our verbals, that goes on the slants on that structure below. I don't know what that's called. So it is unexplored. And then we have a couple of prepositional phrases that are modifying that. By most, preposition and noun of Shakespeare's contemporaries, we have preposition, noun, and then the possessive, which is the modifier. So if we look at what's going on here, we have topic is our subject, unexplored is our verbal, and it's an intransitive. It doesn't have anything following it. So that makes this a pattern 6. This kind of is harder because it feels fragmented, but if you just keep in mind the principles that we've been studying and applying over the course of the semester and kind of see the bigger picture, it tends to make a little bit more sense and things fall into place. So the main clause here, her performance was robust and realistic. Performance is our noun. Was is the past tense of our be verb. We have 2 adjectives in this case, so we put that on that little bracket structure, and we have a pattern 2 sentence. Then we get to the appositive part of the sentence. Experience is our noun, and we just have a whole bunch of modifiers here. An indefinite article, unforgettable is an adjective, and for the audience is a prepositional phrase. So we just diagram that. Because we don't have a verb, remember that sentence patterns have to have subject and verb, at least kind of implied or somewhere else going on in the sentence to be a sentence pattern. So this one you only have to identify the pattern for that first clause. Okay, the last 4 sentences are the nominative absolutes, and they're diagrammed the same as you do the sentence appositives, where they're parallel to each other, but they're independent diagrams. I always start with the main clause, just because that's habit for me and it makes more sense, even if the main clause comes second. So I look at Petruchio as my subject, can cause are my verbs, cause what? Love is my direct object, and freely is my adverb. So I have a subject, verb, direct object is a pattern 7. Then I'm going to back up in the sentence and back up on my diagram and look at Katerina subdued. Katerina is the subject, it's the noun, obviously. Subdued is the past participle that is modifying the noun. So again, it goes on that brackets there on that structure below what it's modifying, and it goes diagonal to show that it's not functioning as a verb, it's functioning as an adjective. So with a subject and an intransitive verb, no direct object, we have a pattern 6 for the nominative absolute. This sentence starts with the main clause. So she is our subject, is our be verb, wife is a noun as the subjective complement. So this one is a pattern 3. We put in our modifiers. Now is a when word, so that's an adverb. The other 2 are modifying wife, so they go below the noun there. And then again, this should be over on the side, but it gets a little bit squishy. So we have behavior is our noun. Remember, nouns always go in the horizontal. We have a possessive, which modifies it, and a prepositional phrase, which modifies it. No verb here, so we can't give it a sentence pattern. So we are done with that one. Main clause again starts this one, play ends. subject, verb. And then we have a comma after ironically. So we don't have a direct object. It's pattern 6 with a subject and an intransitive verb. We put in the definite article and the adverb, and we are done with that one. So it's a pattern 6 because it is an intransitive verb. Then we move on to the nominative absolute. Katharina is our noun, obviously. Delivering, we have an ing form. So it's either going to be a gerund, and if it's a gerund, then it's going to function as a noun and go on the step structure, but it's not functioning as a noun. It's functioning as an adjective, modifying Katerina. So we put it on the structure below on the diagonal. And now that we're done treating it as an adjective, we kind of reverse and treat it as a verb again. So delivering is our verb. Delivering what? She's delivering a speech. And then we have a couple of prepositional phrases. On proper behavior. So this is telling us what kind of speech she's doing. That goes below the noun. And to the other wives is telling us who she's giving it to. So that goes below the verb. So with a action verb and a direct object, our nominative absolute has a pattern 7. Okay, last one of the entire semester. Again, I'm going to start with my main sentence. Woman is my subject. Playing, I think, oh, it's a verb, it's an ing form. But playing Kate, this is talking about the woman. So this is modifying woman. It's not functioning as the verb. So I'm going to skip that for a second and find my verb. My verb is shouted. What is she doing? She's shouting. So we have woman, shouted, and then we have a couple of prepositional phrases. So our main pattern is going to be a 6 with a subject and an intransitive verb. Now we've got a lot of other things going on here. The two easy ones are the words modifying woman, which go below. Then I'm going to skip to the end and deal with my prepositional phrases and get back to my verbal after. At the top of her voice is describing how she's shouting, so that goes below there. Now we get to playing Kate. We mentioned again that this is functioning as an adjective, so it's going to go below the noun that it's modifying. On that slanted structure, and the verb, the verb form there is going to be slanted as well. So now that we've dealt with it, diagrammed it as an adjective, to figure out how Kate fits in, we need to kind of re-see things with playing as a verb. Playing what or playing whom? She's playing Kate, which is the direct object. So this verbal is going to have a pattern 7. Woman is our implied subject, even though it's up here. Playing is our verb, and Kate is our direct object, which makes it a pattern 7. And then we get to our phrase at the beginning that we skipped. Hands is our noun, which goes on the horizontal, and then we have a prepositional phrase on her hips, which goes below. There's no verb, so we can't give it a sentence pattern, and we are done. I hope this makes sense. If not, please let me know ASAP. We can address things. I would love to talk to you and resolve any issues you may have so that you can feel confident going into the final.